If you're making decisions that impact billions in infrastructure and public value, you can't afford to think small.
We work in a very regulated environment. But there's a key, there's a hack. Regulation is enforcing or pushing for an innovation, if only you see it that way.
In this episode of Beyond the Plan, I sit down with Omer Iqbal, whose portfolio includes Sydney Water, Transport for New South Wales, and PMI Sydney chapter, where he has helped shape some of the most critical infrastructure programs in New South Wales. We unpack key lessons on successfully delivering critical projects in complex environments, including board-level thinking, managing risk appetite, building high-performing teams, harnessing innovation, and translating strategy into results on the ground.
Yeah, innovation. Innovation is not AI. A fool with a tool is still a fool, but it's a fool with a tool now, which is dangerous. I think that's where the risk is.
If you're leading complex programs or shaping enterprise strategy, this episode is packed with insights you will want to take straight into your next project. Let's get into it. Good morning, Omer. Great really to have you on our industry podcast today, talking a lot of good stuff here about portfolio management, I understand. For those of our audience that do not know Omer, he is a famous man, I should say that. President of the PMI Sydney, man, and lots of other things. Tell us a bit more about yourself, and then we dig into and dive into portfolio management.
Well, first of all, thank you for this wonderful start, and good morning to you too, and everybody. Yeah, it's been a bit of a journey. I started my career as a project engineer back in oil and gas world.
Right.
Traveled all the way into project controls, project management, did some board gigs. I worked in a whole diversity. I worked in energy sector, mining sector, oil and gas, transport, defense, telecommunication, and non-for-profit board director. So yeah, it's been a bit of everything carrying with me. Yeah,
absolutely. So you choose to talk about portfolio. What's happening in a portfolio and why portfolio?
Great question, and I would say it is $1 million question. Although in $1 million you don't get anything in Sydney these days. So
that is true.
As I said, work through the project engineer or the trenches of the capital projects environment, infrastructure environment, all the way to the board level. I've felt that I've actually missed a step in my career journey, which was the middle portfolio management area.
Right.
And once I got into this role, which I'm working with New South Wales government, I was very interested to see how the whole loop closes.
Yeah.
So portfolio is actually giving me the much needed insight on how from board to all the way to the executives, to the general managers, to the project directors, to the project engineer, to the subcontractor, to the last man doing the job on the blue collar, and how it connects back to up all the way to the board level or even to the minister level. And what does it mean? How can you control and make sure that you're getting what you wanted to do from the top down?
Absolutely.
And that actually brings in the whole conversation of in the navigating success. What is success?
Mm-hmm.
What is success of a project, right? It reminds me of the good old story of a kid went to the monk asking, what is the value of my life? Monk said, give him a stone and ask him to go and sell it in a bazaar and in a museum. Went to the bazaar, everybody mocked at him, but went to the museum guys said, it's a priceless piece of stone and blah, blah, blah. It's very expensive. It would look perfect in a necklace or something. We're going to buy it for $2 million or something.
Wow.
The kid went back to the monk and said, what happened here? Mm-hmm. Monk said, it's because the environment.
Oh, yeah.
The environment where you put yourself, that was a life lesson. But taking some notes off there, I think the project success also changes a lot where you sit and where you're looking at it from. And this is the whole conversation we want to have today. From a board of director level, project success is how it is helping them reduce their risk appetite. Mm-hmm. For executive level, they're going to see how their strategies are helping them achieve the KPIs. Mm-hmm. And from a PMO perspective, they need to make sure that the benefits and the outcomes of the projects are there, right? And at the project program level is the classic old triple constraint.
Yeah.
Time, cost, money. But look at that at the board level. Would they care about if your project is a little 5-10% above the budget? That's not really the concern there. The concern is it reducing or is it working towards the vision, mission, and the objectives of our organization? How much value this project is adding there? And that was the penny drop for me. And I was like, wow, okay, so how can we make it work? So that is the navigating success. So how can we make this project speak with the board of director or the minister or your CEO or your chairman, whoever our listeners are? So the conversation is around that today.
Absolutely. I'm hearing you're really enjoying this portfolio, yeah? And you're really rocking it, yeah? Tell us more about it. What's happening?
Yeah, mate. It's so portfolios usually have a sum of, if I just go down this from project level. So it's an average project or portfolio have multiple of 100 plus projects, you can say. And in 100 plus projects, you have, the 100 plus projects are usually grouped into 5 to 10 programs or projects. Now, 100 plus projects, they are all operating individually for a various discipline. An example, for a big utility infrastructure or a capital infrastructure project in Australia or in Middle East or in UK or Canada. So it is split into the various risk areas. So what are we trying to achieve? So the few projects would be for environmental compliance, few projects would be for reducing public health risk, few projects would be for expanding our network, expansions. Few projects would be for renewals, which is maintenance of your jobs, etc., etc. Now, the right mix of these projects is what the success of portfolio is all about. That is the juicy part in the whole conversation, right? Let's look at the top-down view, which is a very less known in our world. So what does a board of director thinks? Or what does let's call chief maybe, or a CEO at this point? So what do they think? What are they doing in their big glass fishbowl?
What's their challenges, basically? Yeah.
Why are they pushing us? Why are they spending this much money? Why these agencies, we hear about big projects in Saudi Arabia. What are they trying to achieve from that? What are we trying to do in Australia? The massive capital boom we had in the last few years. So what were we trying to achieve? So in any enterprise environment, there is a need. So first, the need is basic one. The population is increasing. We need to expand. The second need is we need to facilitate or inject some more funds into the economy. So the circular economy moves. The third angle is our existing infrastructure. If we are providing a service, for example, you are a motorway corporation. So are you providing safe, smooth roads to all the drivers?
Yeah.
Is it increasing the speed? If you are a water utility provider, are you making sure every time when we open the tap, we're getting the potable water? So that's the question. So that is the risk status. So you need to have all these people at the board level, they have an independent estimate of their status of risk. So status of risk would be a typical risk matrix we have. We have very high likely, very high. So this is a high risk area. This means we have very high risk domain. Just for an example, an independent evaluator evaluates our organization or infrastructure at a very high risk. Then the board and the smart people in the room will come with, we need to bring it down to a low risk or a medium acceptable risk domain in, let's say, 5 to 10 years. Now, in 5 to 10 years, what does it mean? So maybe in a particular example, our risk is public health, or risk is environment, or risk is losing customer. It could be anything. It could be any of those domains. It could be in the business world. It could be an ability to attract new customers.
Sure.
It could be any risk. To reduce that risk, that's where you give birth to an idea of we need projects.
Oh, yeah. To address those risks, basically.
To reduce the volatility of the business. This line, seemingly a straight line, I think 80 to 90% of a country's any GDP lives there.
Oh, yeah, it does.
whole countries, whole economies are trying to reduce their risk factor to the import exports, their risk factor to the crime rate, everything which we do, risk factor to the unhealthy people in the country. So you need more hospitals for that. So ministers, CEOs, innovators, entrepreneurs, they are all in a way trying to fix this line. And that's where the birth of the whole purpose of board of directors is. Now, board of directors or an executive or a CEO's job is to make sure that happens. Now, it's easiest way to make anything happen is throw a bucket full of money.
Yeah.
But money is a limited constraint, right? So that's at that stage, you come up with a risk appetite statement. So, okay, I'm going to accept a few risks. So there could be some risks which are 1 in a million probability. So that is a risk probably. For example, having a tsunami hitting Sydney is probably never going to happen.
COVID happens.
COVID, but that was.
But it did happen.
It did happen. Oh my God, good times.
Good times indeed. Yeah, a lot of lesson learned from that. Should have a separate episode on it for sure.
That would be great. This risk appetite is then managed, reduced. So we have limited funds. And we have time. How can we get more projects done to meet those risks? So that came the risk appetite coupled with capital bandwidth. So how much funds you have. They then combine together, are handed over to the executives who are smarter people, consultants like McKinsey. It could be on a payroll or whoever.
Yeah.
The top of the lot. Now they have to come up with a strategy to achieve the most in this risk appetite domain, and they're going to set KPIs that we're going to be measuring every month, every year, every quarter, making sure we're going in the right direction using the same strategy. Because usually when we're talking about mega projects or giga projects where there's billions and tens and hundreds of billions of dollars is invested, you don't see a result in a month, right? Yeah. How long it took for this WestConnex? I think it was 7-8 years.
All of these results are not going to be achieved and happen over the night. It needs really longer term planning and think about lots of like moving parts, how to bring all these projects together. But back to your point, Omer, about like board of directors and CEO. Imagine you are a board of director or CEO at the moment sitting on one of these big organizations, which I'm seeing will happen very soon, by the way. What keeps you awake at night? What gives you, you know what I mean? What are the main risks that you think about your organization? You already mentioned that yet there are risks and everybody is trying to basically bring down that level of risk or the main important stuff that they're trying to address, which then results in identifying projects to address those needs. But if you wanted to like mention like a couple of big risks and the things that you would be worried about them.
Yeah, very good question actually. So Ali, if I am sitting on one of the boards in future, as you predict, I think I'm going to be using the greatest tool is called Cynefin frameworks.
Okay.
Cynefin framework. Framework. Pardon my spelling, guys. Cynefin framework. So it's basically 4-quadrant approach. It has a simple, complex, chaos is here. Yeah. And this one is simple, complex, and I think it's complicated.
That's right.
What I would be trying to do, I'm trying to be evaluating the organization. Are we sitting in the chaos, complicated or complex? So in a chaos is where you're trying to do things like early days of COVID. You don't know what's working. Yeah. So that was kind of a chaos situation. But when we figured out, okay, so it's a virus spreading through people, so you need to wear a mask. So we figured out, we probed and test. We know somewhere where it's going, but we are not really certain about it. And the complex was where we're certain about it now. Okay, so wear mask, keep distance, work from home, we're going to put it on control. So that was a simple situation. So I think as a leader, this is our job to bring everything back to the lower complexity scale. But if it's simple, then anyone can copy. If it becomes simple, then there's no room for innovation. There's no room for growth. There's no room for it. It is almost a dictator-controlled country.
Oh, yes.
That is simple. We exactly know what's going to happen if you do this.
Yeah.
A little bit of, I think, element of space gives growth, gives new opportunities. It gives birth to new opportunities. And that's where I think I would love to bring my whole organization or function of that. So that is one. So all the risks that are in the chaos and the complicated domain, that's where I would be very concerned. So we don't know what's happening. We don't know how to put a control on it. So we need to have a task force. We need to have an independent study on it. And that's where I'll be throwing money on, literally.
Okay.
So I need an answer how we can control it. First, we need to have that study done immediately. Until then, definitely not sleeping.
Absolutely. That would be a lot of a sleepless night, I would imagine. So from the chaos till when you make the things a bit more manageable, what I see, Omar, is that it is not necessarily science, but there is lots of art to it as well, because every situation that is thrown at any particular like big organization or even country on a country level, it is unique because to some certain level, you could predict the things. You could foresee that. Okay, well, now that the COVID has happened, if similar thing has happened, now I believe this time around the government or the private sector, because they have experienced it once, and there are lots of lessons learned that basically follows and is learned from those chaos times. The transition from like the chaos to like complicated or complex would be much more easier because a similar situation has happened, which is a science part of it. But in each of these circumstances and situation, there is like the art or innovation part of it, as you mentioned, that we still don't know. It is not documented. It's not in a textbook. So this is where like smart people come to play, and organization really put the hat of that innovation and on and see, okay, this is a unique situation. What we have learned so far could have that far greater impact. But what is unique about this situation and how we could resolve it, isn't it?
That is a very good question, Ali. And actually, I have a story to tell.
Yeah, please.
So for the confidentiality reasons, we are not going to talk about the names of the companies, but people who know me, they know that I was actually once given this great opportunity to lead a board. And that organization was going through some tough time. Okay. And I never led a board before, let alone be a part of it or leading it. So it was a very interesting time for me. And everything was going on a chaos. There was a massive distrust within the whole organization regarding that particular board. The functions did not exist. The operations were broken. There were some legal issues. There were some reputational issues. Everything was a perfect cocktail.
Not in a good way.
Spicy one.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, hindsight is 6 by 6, right? Looking back, what I think helped me through, what it did, it tested what metal I was made of. And I think this is what the message is. In those circumstances, the leadership is tested by the real core of your values. So that's where the individual with the gray hair comes into the action.
Sure.
Right? So they walk in and now they have to put down their own personal reputation at risk or their own personal engagement at that level. And how would they make it happen? It could be anyone with a gray hair walking in and making things happen, but not really. You need to have a mix of expertise, mix of thought leadership, mix of a cadence, mix of management cadence. You need to know how to build these things together. And most importantly, using these smart tools, identify, are you in a chaos or it's complex? Chaos means literally you have no idea what's going on. And complex is, yes, okay, I can try these few things and I will get some results. So using some smarts like this, we were able to take out the whole organization within 6 months.
Wow.
That was one of my pride achievements, I would say that, but it was great. And literally the success was staying focused on what we're trying to achieve, putting down the list on where we stand at the high risk domain and how we can reduce ourselves from the exposure. And this whole formula, you can literally replicate it to a profit scenario. You want to increase profit. What you need to do, you need to invest more in innovation, marketing, client engagement, customer feedback. How do you do that? So you list those elements down, and those are now separate projects. Then for each project, there's going to be a strategy, and that strategy is to be done by an executive level, responsible, accountable resource, which is going to be your C-level, CEO, CRO, marketing executives, and they're going to sit down together, come up with a strategy and KPIs that tracks and measures the strategy. So remember, plan, do, check, act.
Oh yeah.
The golden
PDCA Act, yeah.
the golden project management rule. And if anyone has done PMP, that is very important. That's really the core. So you can see that the basic manners and discipline that you learn at the project level, if you expand it, you can use the same mindset, same kind of stencil at a board level, but the only element is the external. So in a project, usually you have a very protected environment. True. You have so many layers protecting you. Your focus is only triple constraint.
Yeah.
So this is what this picture is all about here, right? In a traditional portfolio project, you have time, cost, scope, and quality, triple constraint. We know all about that.
Yeah.
But when you go to a value chain view, which is a board perspective, which is a whole organization, the whole beast, you're talking about a new kind of a triple constraint.
Of course.
There's investments, how much money you're pouring in, what contractual negotiations you're having, how you're going to deliver that, what assets you're building, and then going in circles, and how operations are going to cope up with the changes. Because if you're having too many changes in an organization that is 100 or so years old, you're not going to have a good response.
Yeah.
So the changes needs to be done organically at a pace that everyone can sit on it, right? During British Raj, they built a lot of railway network in India, Pakistan, that time subcontinent. We have those railway network, amazing, but we can't run fast trains on it anymore because they were built for a certain kind of a train, right? So we can't have bullet trains run on those same networks. So we need to slowly upgrade our systems, build new tracks, and go into that direction. We have people, we have the intellectualism, we have the necessary skill set, but we don't really can go with the speed. For example, China had that luxury, right? They built massive bullet trains network because they didn't have the one before. So it was a new one. So going to a new waters is relatively different. So this is where the innovation helps in a system. Innovation is going to act as a catalyst to your progress, success. So yeah, in a portfolio environment, what is innovation?
Exactly. That was my next question. You read my mind. So let's open that up.
Yeah, innovation. Innovation is not AI.
So I cannot put it in and ask ChatGPT, okay, tell me more about innovation, and then boom, 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 it comes out, and then I copy and paste into my company policy and I'm good to go. So it's not that simple, right?
A fool with a tool is still a fool. So,
that's right.
But it's a fool with a tool now. So it's dangerous.
Tell me about it.
I think technical innovation is there to assist, is there to bring the bridge between the human capital side of things. I'm going to come back to it in a second. Sure. But innovation, what does innovation do in an organization? It creates that breathing space. It creates this room to try new things. It creates the room to be new, to be different, and constantly coming up in the Cynefin framework, making sure that you are in a probe and test environment. You're testing new things because the only thing you don't know is what you don't know.
Yeah.
So how can you always keep an eye on your blind spots at a portfolio? Unknown unknowns, right? Yeah. So innovation gives us that ability to keep on looking at and then picking up new weaknesses we may have. So that's one. Now, coming to the innovation when capital. So why I particularly mentioned it. I have my own view on this one. Ali, you may agree or disagree with it. I think AI or ChatGPT tools or similar likes of it, it disrupted the whole human capital business. So previously we used to have big four consulting companies have these big brains to come up and turn around these solutions. But if there is a new kid in town and knows how to use and tap on all these resources, they probably not at the same level, but they can benchmark it. They can come nearer to that. So not anymore that the intellectual monopoly is. I think that's where the risk is in our field. I don't know about the rest of the industry, but where we operate in project management, business management, I think that's where it is. So it has taken away that monopoly of intellectualism from big fours or big fives or big tens to the new players as well. Knowledge is there if you know how to seek it, right?
Exactly. I mean, look up the new era of like AI. It was a part of a conversation with the previous guest as well. And how really does it impact the whole aspects of our lives, the way we run the things, the way we conduct our business, the way the projects are run. Yeah, once upon a time, there was like big four guys, you know who I'm talking about, that all the knowledge and everything was sort of like embedded in the organization, and it was part of the intellectual property, the IP. That was where they were able to basically sell this knowledge to any potential clients at a very big price tag. Again, we're not going into those details, but the reality is that, as you rightly mentioned, is that these all new tools have enabled really even a young engineer or a young project manager really, to ask all these questions and adding their own lens to it and really get a very good and precise answers out of the system, and gives that new level of really intelligence that you could easily bring it, customize it, and use it in your daily life, regardless you're a young project engineer or project manager or even very old ones. Doesn't matter where you are in your career journey, but having all these tools at our disposal have really made a lot of change. And I was thinking the way that we have run our companies, projects, programs, portfolios in past 10 years is not going to be the same at all as the way we're going to run it in the next 5 years. So we're going to see a fundamental change in how all these businesses and projects are going to be run, isn't it?
True, true. And that actually takes us to the next part. Is it going to be the operations or investments that are going to drive successes in the organization? And operations definitely can uplift their game by employing these new tools, by getting up to speed. And investments is a focus that putting money where the mouth is, kind of thing. So right goals, right objectives, investing into that direction, but not really ignoring the immediate threats either.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we did all in transport as well. So we were building roads, but we were also building the other networks along with it, making sure, like when we worked on railway line, we always had a contract with the buses to make sure when we close down the rail line, we have a plan B for the team. So that's where the risk management and making sure investment is actually there to help the cause we are working on. Everything we do, it does happen in a framework. We are not working in a vacuum, unfortunately. As you said, the big four, just like big four, we have legislatives, we have laws, we have the very key role of governance and the enterprise framework that we operate in. And I think that's where the interesting part is. So enterprise environment is one of the most interesting constraints that I encountered when I stepped into this portfolio, senior portfolio level thinking hat. What was that? We could potentially kickstart all the projects, even if we had the money. But we didn't have enough people. We didn't have enough intellectual, or we didn't have enough designers to fast track our projects. We don't have enough. There's a labor constraint. There is ability to design and transform that information. So that is the enterprise constraint we're talking about. So organizations. So this is where a thought leadership needs to be more engaged in the senior levels. Mission, vision, and objectives. They don't happen in a vacuum. They're immensely engaged or impacted by their climate. So that's one. The other angle is the regulation.
Yeah.
We work in a very regulated environment. Talk about regulations. I can list probably 20 here. And you are not stranger to that either.
Yeah, when talking about the regulation, when we have a lot of like this conversation that, how is it even possible that, for example, in Dubai, you have got these flying taxis that they're just going around, but if you wanted to do the same thing here, you simply can't, not because they're not available. They are available, but the regulator simply doesn't allow that. Yeah, for sake of safety, we understand that, no problem with that, but there is not like the right, even a regulation for it in place. And if it's not there, you can't operate in that environment, can you? No. But in, for example, Dubai or in Saudi, when king decides something or authorities decide something, it's a done deal. It's not going to go through the same like process that we go here. You see, well, till this point of time, flying taxis are not there. Next week, they're there. It's as simple. So bringing the regulator on board and making things happen literally may take like a week. If you wanted to do the same thing here, well, that would be fair to say it takes months, if not years, really. And comparably with a lot of like other new technologies that we see, they happen like in Dubai or Saudi, but they do not happen that much fast like in a Western world. That's all comes under regulation, doesn't it?
It does.
Let's open that up.
I think regulation environment. So it's a two-edged sword, right? It has benefits and it has its own impact in our business, in our world. The whole purpose, if we go back, why we need regulation is essentially to control the way society behaves, or business behaves, or investment would go, or economy would go in certain direction. What over-regulated environments or regulation-fatigued environments, I think the messaging is missing from the regulations impact to the regulated bodies. So they need to know how fast the car is going. If there is no odometer on the car, you don't know the mileage of your kilometers. You just see the speedometer. So it doesn't matter if you're driving at 10 kilometers per hour or 100. But you don't know where you're going and how far you're going. So the odometer is where the KPIs, how certain regulations are impacting certain businesses, that needs to be communicated.
Sure.
And I sometimes feel that message gets lost with the lobbyists, with the firms, with the lawmakers. This is, again, probably an unpopular opinion, but this is my naive approach. So I think that's with the regulation environment. But there's a key, there's a hack. And actually, this is why I put these two things very close next to each other. Innovation can really exploit the constraints placed on us through regulations. And that's where we can have more innovative ideas. For example, I was working on this massive mega oil and gas project in Western Australia. And we had a very tight place to work on. It was an offshore facility. We couldn't build things like stick build. So we were getting a ready-made, pretty much whole facility, ready-made in a Southeast Asian country.
Right.
Shipped to us, and there would be massive wheels. We would take the whole 5-story building, put it on the place, and that was an innovation to control the regulation. So if we had to build everything there from scratch up, there would be possibilities of spills in the water. There would be possibilities of environmental impact, people getting injured. It's just a whole lot of things. But using innovation, building things in a modular way, in a factory, far, in a safe, protected, environmentally engaged manners, using the same rules, but using up with an innovative idea and then fixing it here. So in our governance framework need to be flexible enough to encourage innovation where it's needed, where it needs to speed up or find areas of constraints from the governance framework, from the enterprise environment and regulation environment. And that's where innovation comes in.
I was thinking about the point that you mentioned that, for example, that is strategy about like having the whole assembly and everything in a very controlled environment rather than like bringing everything to WA and do the things in there. So that basically is a risk mitigation strategy, isn't it? Because if you wanted to do it like on the ground, you will expose yourself to a lot of risk. But then by using that piece of innovation, you basically de-risk or mitigated the risks in so many ways that it would be much more controllable, and you would be getting the better outcome for your project and surely for your organization, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it takes away the sweat. So that's where innovation helps, and that's where the risk sits. Sure. And the tools, operations, and the overall environment that a business operates, it's difficult. It's difficult. From a project world of triple constraint, sending up a KPI to a program or PMO level that we are hitting this project on time. For example, so in a PMO environment, you're working on, let's say, a water pipeline going all the way to this is the start, going through a city, and this is the end. you're supposed to do some maintenance projects in this line, in this area, and this area. A, B, C, 3 projects. And in the end, there needs to be a massive wastewater treatment pump that's going to treat everything and throw it into the ocean. So at a project level, you have 3 projects working, and this guy comes in, the project number C, that, oh, we are ahead of time, we've done amazingly good. But at the same time, these 2 projects are late. It doesn't really matter if this project is hitting its triple constraint, because we need to make sure the impact of these 2 projects. Yes, of course, it's ready, it's contractually completed, and in the textbooks, a project is a success. But in a portfolio view, my project is not success until I finish these 2. And if these 2, all 3 of them are finished, and I don't have my treatment plant ready, then what I'm doing with these 3, it's actually just creating more load onto the line already, and with no ability to treat. This is where I enjoy the most of my current role.
Right.
Ability to connect a bigger picture with the successors, predecessors, using the same rules that we learned about 2 decades ago in project management.
Absolutely.
Successor predecessor relationships. The same thing goes in successor predecessor relationships in regulation and innovation. Regulation is enforcing or pushing for an innovation, if only you see it that way.
100%. I was thinking, it's a great example. And by the way, I was thinking, is it like Sydney Water that does all the pipelines like this? This is why we have got a lot of problem in the water supply? No, that's fine. I was thinking, look, you're 100% right. And when we have got all these like projects that are part of a like bigger program or portfolio, it doesn't matter. When you zoom into like this part of a puzzle, and it is done to the time, to the budget, and it's delivered perfectly when you have just got zoom into this. But when you zoom out and you come and you see the bigger picture, then it is where the project B and project A comes to play. So if it is just sitting there idle, which means you now have to start like maintaining it till the other piece of the puzzle come to play. That's where the whole challenge starts showing itself, because A hasn't done to the time and the budget yet, B the same, and even if you have got all the whole thing lined up and you haven't got your treatment plan up and running, again, it means that when you zoom out and when you sit on a like program and portfolio level, you will start to realize, oh, wait a minute, it is not working. You have got a small success here and there, but in a bigger picture, no, you're still not there. And you can't go in front of the board and say, look, we have done this program of projects. We haven't been able really to done this program of projects successfully, because there are other elements that come into play, isn't it?
Correct. And I'm going to give you another investment angle to this, and we come back to the Sydney Water comment. So this whole pipeline, when we were designing this project, let's take us back to the board level.
Sure.
So we had to make a decision that should we install a new technology in the wastewater facility that is going to treat the water regardless of these new advancements in there. That would have costed us, let's say, 1 billion. But if we have these projects, that is each going to cost us, that's 20. And overall, after installing this 20 million times 3, 60 million investments on these 3 projects, we then need to spend only 0.4 billion. That sounds really good. That makes this one an absolute winner. But the reality hits. These projects, when you start working on, somewhere you find asbestos, somewhere you find environmental issue. These 60 million becomes 600 million, exaggerating the fact. And then this becomes closer to 1 billion. And 10 years later, you end up spending 1 billion or more than that option. Oh, yeah. So that's where the thinking comes into play. That's where you have to pick which one of the 2 lemons you're going to chew tonight.
Yeah.
I think that's where the complexity is. The pipeline, making sure everything happens in the time, then picking up the right project, right sequencing of the portfolio for the business is the whole key. Innovation comes into play. Now, if this is a scenario that is happening, then innovative ideas should have jumped in and brought us a different approach. And that also gives an angle of a risk resilience view. An organization, how resilient we are in you're only good in risk resilience if you have a good foresight. People or the teams or the consultants working on these projects should speak at the right time. That's where we need an open culture. That's where we need a culture where people and tools and operations, they work on uplifting the overall portfolio performance. So they need to speak up. Well, we don't think it's going to be smooth because just down the block, we had another project and we faced these challenges while working for another supplier for a gas line. And we have already faced the issue. So most likely it's not going to happen. We should go back and change our approach. That's where I think the risk resilience is not walking into a sea of flames. Risk resilience is making sure you know where it is and avoiding it.
Let's dive into the people component of this. I know you have assembled such amazing teams, basically. How do you make sure you have got the right people on the boss, and how do you manage to attract all these talents when you're assembling a good teams, basically?
When I was a younger professional, I don't remember the book I read, but it was a business book saying, hire people that are smarter than you. I tend to look for, in my team, the strengths they have that I don't have in me. So then I can discuss with them and we can all complement each other. That's one. Having a perfect fit in your group. Second comes in keeping them motivated. So one of the recent things I've started experiencing or experimenting with my team in the last 4 or 5 years is job designs. Some jobs are usually not designed properly. Some people, they come into a role, but that's a dead role. It's a dead-end role. You just push in the buttons and go home. They may be happy for a bit. I don't know why someone would be happy like that, but sometimes you want that. Sometimes in life, there's so much going on. You want a relaxed role. It's fine, totally understandable. But 6-7 months down the line, you get bored, even if you needed it. So you need a bit of a purpose. So in people management, the rule number 1 has always been getting the best of the best. Number 2 is keeping them engaged and motivated towards the goal. So communicate with your team what is the mission, vision, and purpose we are trying to build. So that reminds me of this good old story. I think it was Kennedy, JF Kennedy, when they were sending man to the moon. He was walking in NASA, and he asked one of the sweepers cleaning the floors, "What's your job?" He said, "I'm helping man go to the moon." So I think that's where the motivation was, and that is a good ambition to have as a manager, as a people leader, that makes sure your people are motivated, they're engaged, and they connect themselves with a higher objective. I think this has been the rule, but yes, there's always tough ones. Tough ones to crack.
100%. People element, as you mentioned, very important. And for example, if you're running a project, we have got project management team, project control team, designers, everybody, and each of these elements and everybody on the team, they're doing their own thing. They're preparing like a cost plan. They're preparing a schedule. They are updating a schedule. They're preparing report. But as a very good example that you mentioned, and also for the leaders and managers to basically bring it home, is that how each and everybody on a team understand their role and the impact that they have got in a bigger picture, and how their contribution day in, day out will make the big picture happen. It doesn't matter that even they're doing like the simplest admin thing on the project, it doesn't matter. But very similar to that, guy, is that, I'm helping and I'm contributing in sending a human being to the moon. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, but my doing, okay, and the task that I'm doing the best to my capacity and capability is helping achieving that mission, isn't it?
Agree with that. I think it's more ownership on the leadership as well. So they might be team members willing to think like that, but they can be bogged down by the leadership sometimes. So I think it goes both ways. The leader needs to also communicate and treat their people the same manner that they're achieving. They are part of their success. Their success comes from these people. So a good tool is a half job done. Have you heard about that? So I think a good team makes your life easy, right? So you need to have that motivation. And for the difficult situations, I think we just talked about intrinsic motivators. Extrinsic motivation is also very good. People need to feel safe. They need to feel valued, and they need to feel comfortable in working in those teams, right? That's what we have been chasing in our lives individually, right?
Yeah.
As well. I've known you for like 5-6 years now, and this is exactly what we preach.
You're right on the money about like intrinsic values and also an external one, the motivational ones, and how the leaders would be able to like balance all of this. Maybe for some some people on your team, a little bit pay rise or a little bit motivation in that area, will do the job. So they will be, keep engaged and motivated. Some people find themselves that if we're in a very similar example, if they're really contributing into the bigger picture and making the big vision happen, that's what really drives them, and that's what really motivates them, and that what really keep them going day in, day out. If you do not necessarily even incentivize them like on a pay rise or anything like that, that would be nice all the time. Let's not argue about that. But what I'm saying is that that again comes down to the people management side of things, which is not an easy one. So there is no set in a script about it, how to manage your people and how to lead your people. And again, it comes down to the level of expertise that like high level management and executives have got, isn't it?
True. And that's actually a very interesting topic you shared. I always think, and I've seen myself, the people sitting on the top of the hierarchy, usually, they are those leaders who necessarily don't need a manager. Mm-hmm. They're self-starter, they're self-engaged, they're self-motivated. So they sometimes treat this trait as a given, as a granted. So everybody would be like that. That's where usually things start to go wrong. It is a blessing that leaders are self-motivated and self-engaged all the time.
Sure.
But they don't need to consider that everybody in the world is like this. So people need engagement, not even in a monetary value. Of course, what is better than $1 million is 2 million, right? Money is always going to be there. But feeling safe, feeling valued, feeling connected with a bigger purpose, and feeling recognized,
of course,
it goes a long way. Long way. Imagine you have a resource not performing well. You need to find a new resource. Mm-hmm. So you're going to spend a month or a week finding a new resource. Would it kill spending the same amount of time with this resource over the year, 1 day a week, training them, engaging with them, giving them the moment to express themselves? Yeah. I think that's a better solution.
100%.
Yeah, I think it's better to be the people or the leaders who builds people. I think that's where the strength is.
Look, we can talk about like people elements of it for ages. Really, it's this is why we have got HR professionals, etc., like on the team to make sure that people are very, very well looked after. But also, it doesn't take the very important role of like people like on a executive side of things. Away that say, look, we have got a big HR team, they're going to look after us. No, it's not that. It's really every like meeting leaders really could have a really great impact on their people, how they keep them engaged and how they keep them aligned with like the vision and mission of the like project or program or portfolio, isn't it?
It is. That's where the whole jam is.
Exactly. Let's talk a bit more about like the tools that you have written there and see what's the impact of the tools or what sort of tools we are using like in here.
In a business environment, there's a mix of tools, right? There's frameworks, there's guidelines, there's standards and practices, and there are applications which we call IT-based tools, right? In the world of tools, again, a fool with a tool is still a fool with a tool, but now he's a smarter fool. So what we need to look into, tools need to bring innovation. Yeah. Tool needs to bring fast tracking, and they need to be bringing value into the system. The prime example is in Sydney Water or in any other organizations globally, when you have such a scale of projects that you're dealing with, it's a great idea to test and trial new contractual approaches. So if you're aware of it or not, in Sydney Water, they do an EC contracts.
Oh, yeah.
So that is supposed to fast track a few things for the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. It is focused on the outcomes, not in anything else, I guess, and the speed. So these are the tools that we need to be constantly testing and trialing. But it goes back, I think we've touched it already. it goes back to the capacity of operations to adapt these tools to. For example, I'll give you my example.
Yes.
I've always been a Windows computer user, right? And suddenly I, for some reason, decided to buy a MacBook. And my productivity dropped for the first few months because I didn't know how to operate it. It was same, but different.
Yeah.
So imagine so many people using this complexity and multiplying it with a few hundred in an organization. When you introduce a new tool, how complex it would be for many people who are used to a certain way of doing things. So that's where it's stressful. And not seeing much innovation in tools front is also a concern. That is it's a concern and an opening. It's an opening for new entrepreneurs to bring up with an idea to cover that gap. And it's a concern that we're going to make same mistake every time because we're using the same tools. We are blinded by our hindsight.
Omar, so in a tools section and on the tools that are going to be used to deliver these projects, what I understand is that, look, in majority of the government organizations, they have got some tools already. So, and it's not easy to bring and introduce new tools to the party. And there would be a lot of resistance. And let's say ERP system, for example, okay, people have got used to it. People have used it for a number of years. They're really comfortable with it. They know when they open the tool, where is in each menu. And now we wanted to come to the organization telling them, look, guess what? We have got this new ERP tool. It's AI powered, by the way. That's always the selling point, isn't it? That's AI powered, and we're going to roll it out, and it's going to make your job much, much more easier. But nobody even, has got any idea how to use it, or which very similar to your example that when you got a new device, which is, by the way, a new tool, it took a fair bit of time really to get used to it and how to utilize it the best way. And the reality is that at the end of the day, when again we zoom out and we look at the organizational or portfolio level, imagine if we have got the best operators on the ground. They're doing such a fantastic job, but if they're not on top of how to use the tools at their disposal, you're not going to get that outcome, are you? What do you think about that?
I think it's been the bane of my existence throughout. When we were in controls, young engineers, I have seen only a few projects where we actually use Primavera to its purpose.
Right.
It has been only a Gantt chart tool. That's one limitation. I think the limitation of a tool is not an understanding of the tool. It's mostly the organization is not equipped to face what it's going to tell them. Sometimes resource histograms in a controls job exactly tells where the problem is. But sometimes as a business leaders, we really don't want to see that. We have a bigger problem to solve.
Oh, yeah.
We tend to see that as a less of a problem, but that's actually is helping us achieve the results. Oh, yeah. I think that's where definitely we can improve. And implementing a new tool is a challenge. A new tool is synonymous to change, cultural change of an organization.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the bigger the organization, the bigger and the longer it's going to take to bring in a change. I have known organizations, they just recently started to use SAP for their financial systems.
Oh, yeah.
Not saying that SAP is good or bad or everything else, but it seems to be a trend that was 10 years ago. But it's still some organizations are catching up on that. So there are challenges in that front. But having said that, if you don't have an appetite for a change in your organization, rest assured you're exposing yourself to a risk that someone else is going to fill in that gap. Because tools are there to make things quicker, easier, and risk-free. So every new tool has less risk because they are more smarter. That's the selling point. Why would you start going to riding a horse when you have a Lamborghini? Maybe you do both, but giving an example, I think the tools are supposed to give you safe and faster ways to achieve same outcomes. And if you are lacking in that area, you're lacking in your operations. And if you're lacking in your operations, you're not going to achieve the mission vision.
Along the lines of introducing new tools, in particular in a big organization, which we have got an adaptation component to that. What I found is that majority of this organization, even they will bring like the change management experts into the organization, not the change management in the context of a project management when there is a variation. No, I'm not talking about that, but the change management professionals, which they would be able really to study the situation very well, understand the situation, and talk to people, basically, help them go through the adaptation process, which is not going to happen over the night. It's not you're going to go to people and say, oh, well, guess what? We have got, again, that new ERP or whatever new system, which is AI powered, and it's going to just make magic. Yeah, maybe on an organization, on a portfolio level, you as a portfolio director, you see that, you sold on that, how you wanted to sell that idea to like hundreds of people under yourself, so they would come along the journey with you and go through the adaptation process. So yeah, having the right people on the team for that transition period to adapt to new, like the change managers and change professionals, is going to make a huge difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, right set of people is definitely success. It reminds me of a story. There was this organization, they were trying to have a new tool, but what actually they did, they hired a software company to make everything that they do digital.
Right.
Versus they could have bought something off the shelf that was based off best practices. So they were literally repeating. So the whole purpose of going digital was to have quicker, faster, and error-free solutions, but they were replicating their existing problem into digital. So instead of, for example, you're bad in forecasting your resourcing or your cost forecasts, and you just ask someone to convert your Excel into a fancy tool for you, but that's not going to help. You need a best practice process embedded tool that adds value. So when you're doing a change, don't do a change for the sake of a cosmetic uplift. Do a change for the process as well. So that's where I think the value is. That's where we sometimes miss. We use Primavera only for Gantt chart. Why you can use MS Project for that? If you just need a Gantt chart, you don't need to spend that much money. But you need to have more integrity, you need to have more control, you need to have more revision control and more auditability. So that's why you invest more money into the tools like P6, SAP, Oracle.
Exactly.
That suit helps you in that. Yeah, that's my take on it.
I'd like to ask you if you have got any final thoughts or any final recommendation. We have got a lot of younger generations, younger engineers, project managers. What are your some final thoughts on it, and what's the best recommendation you could give them?
I think invest time in yourself while you are young. I would say have big vision, but also have small measurable goals. And when you work in an organization, you use the same sketch. So what it is, have a vision where you want to go, and then build your steps around it. What you want to achieve, how you want to achieve, and understand the organization, understand the business, understand the enterprise environment where you operate, understand the business complexity, understand the whole framework, whole environment where your whole organization lives and breathes. That's number one for the youngsters. The other thing is, don't be shy of expressing your opinion in a structured and in a constructive way. Because I have high hopes with these generations, the new generation C and Alpha. They are smarter people, emotionally woke, very active and very connected. I am certain when they will be working in the offices very soon, they will be equipped with the right way to use these tools and AI. They will be way more better than our AI prompts than we are. We are using AI prompts to tell us if our grammar is correct or wrong on a LinkedIn post. But these kids are going to be using it for a better reason. So I have high hopes with them, and I'm pretty sure they'll be doing all right.
Right, great. Thank you very much for that. Look, it was a really great conversation, and we unpacked a lot of stuff in a limited time that we have got available. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming to our industry episode, and we'll see you next time.
Looking forward.
Thank you. Thanks.